Hey, what's good, y'all? Joshua Mallard here, and we're back with some music engraving tips so that your score doesn't look like this.
Bruh.
Now, I'm sure no one's score really looks like that, but music engraving and having good scores is actually really important. If you're writing concert music and you're applying to schools, you're trying to get into call for scores, and you're trying to get into competitions, a lot of judges will not even listen to your music if your score looks bad. Also, if you're writing for media, it's really important that if you're in a recording session, that your music is easily readable. You don't want to lose time from players being confused. And this goes both ways for people writing for concert halls. Anyways, before we dive into the first tip, please leave a like and comment, and please subscribe to this channel. Let me know what you want to see next. Every week I'm coming out with not only composition tutorials, but also production tutorials and other topics in music and sound design. Anyways, tip number 1, take a look at this score right here and tell me if you see anything wrong. Now, if you read a lot of scores right off the bat, you might be confused. It's missing a transposed score or a score in C marking. This indicator usually goes in the upper left corner, and it's super important. For example, a transposing instrument is the French horn. When a French horn plays a C written in a transposing score, we actually hear the F below that, a fifth below. If you're in a score in C, that F will just be written in the score, but it's really important that we know that when we're going to look at your score, because otherwise we don't know what you intended, and we kind of have to guess like, okay, maybe this is out of the range of this instrument, so there's no way this is a transposing score or a score in C. If you do happen to write a score that is entirely instruments that aren't transposing, you can go ahead and put full score in the upper left-hand corner. Super important, you don't want to miss this step, and I actually see this mistake in scores from pros. So it's definitely something you don't want to miss out on. If you paid someone to engrave your music and they missed that step, please get a refund. Anyways, tip number 2, and that has to do with slurs and ties. This is another confusing thing, and it's not super intuitive, but take a look at this right here. In this example, we have a note that's tied over the beat, and we want to slur to the next note. In this case, you wouldn't actually put the slur here. You would instead put it at the beginning of the tied note. Having the slur at the beginning of these sequence of ties makes the phrase really clear, and it prevents confusion from all those like conflicting lines. It can seem really arbitrary, but if you're playing in a really dense part that has smaller divisions than this, it can actually make reading the part really easy. A lot of these tips actually become more and more important as your music increases in density. So keep this one in mind, and let's move on to the next tip. Tip number 3 has to actually do with spelling. Now, if you're working in Sibelius or Finale or Dorico, you might even have some of your stuff be spelled automatically, and sometimes it can be kind of off. And the same can happen for notation programs like Musescore. Take a look at this example. We have E, C, B, and then E flat. So the big problem with this right off the bat is we have an E natural and an E flat, but we haven't even used the D in this measure. So going from that B to an E flat is a really unusual interval. You could easily respell that E flat as a D sharp and have a major third, which is much easier to read like this. This you will have happen a lot, especially if you have, again, even more dense music with a lot more notes. Spelling all these enharmonics can be super tricky, but it definitely helps players be able to play your music easier, and they'll thank you for it. Now let's move on to the next tip, which is a bit of a 2-in-1. This has to do with dynamic placement and rest and destination dynamics. Take a look at this one. We want them to decrescendo, but we don't even notate where or what dynamic level they're going to go to. So what's a player supposed to do? Do you want it to be niente at the end? Do you want it to be mezzo forte, piano? You need to put a dynamic there. And what you see a lot is people either don't put a dynamic or they put it like this. Now, some of you might be like, wait, I don't see anything wrong. Having a dynamic marking under the rest is not correct. Do you want the rest to be quiet? That's kind of a joke, but the way this is actually properly notated is you have the dynamics slightly to the side at the end of the note duration, but before the rest. A lot of music engraving can seem kind of arbitrary, but trust me, this is going to help you out and make your music more clear as it increases in density and complexity. Anyways, that's it for this video. That's like 5 tips since we had that 2-in-1. But if there's more tips you want to know or you want to dive a bit deeper into scores, check out the Music Engraving Tips Facebook group. Definitely been a ton of help for me and a ton of help for many other people. Stay tuned for some more videos because there's going to be a lot more content coming through. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell and comment and let me know what you want to see next. Peace, y'all.